Hey, church family, I wanted to take this opportunity to present you with another word of encouragement as we continue to pray for the outcome of this election. Now, without debate, the trials and the troubles of this year, they don't appear to be easing up in the final months. And so 2020, it continues to run its horrible course. Not only is the infection rate of the coronavirus continuing to increase in many areas of America, but now people on both sides of the political aisle are completely frustrated by the presidential election as we continue to wait to see how this whole thing is going to play out. You know, the Democrats who were hoping for a blue wave to sweep through through every state, you know, that they were disappointed that the polls were completely wrong. And the Republicans who were counting on a landslide victory for President Trump, well, they're now completely convinced that this election is being stolen right before our very eyes. And all of this in the midst of ongoing lockdowns, and these lockdowns have shuttered the doors of 200,000 businesses all across our nation. And so we're all just struggling with all of this. With that being the case, it's no wonder why so many people are suffering from depression and anxiety. You know, according to one survey conducted by the National Center for Health Statistics, currently 30% of people are experiencing symptoms of clinical depression, which is compared to 6% at the same time last year. That's a huge increase. In addition to this, the survey also showed that 36% of people are feeling more anxious about life right now, compared to just 8% at the same time last year. Without debate, you know, more people are depressed, more people are anxious, more people are frustrated. And if this sounds like you, then, I encourage you to remember the promise that Paul presented in Romans chapter 8, where he assures us that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Listen, Paul didn't say some things. He didn't say most things. No, he said all things. All things work together for good to those who love God and to those who are called according to his purpose. Do you love the Lord? Have you been called according to his purpose? If so, then you can rest in the fact that God is going to work all of these things together for your good. Now, I realize that this is difficult for us to see. I mean, how could God take all of these difficulties from 2020? How can he use them for our good? Listen, I'm not asking you to figure all this out. I'm not asking you to, logically reason your way to figure out how God can take all of this and work it together for good. No, I'm not asking you to think it through. I'm asking you to walk by faith rather than by sight. Christian, listen, we've placed our faith in an all-powerful God who is able to accomplish his perfect will. And it's for this reason that James encouraged us to just count it all joy when we fall into various trials. And the reason why is because God uses the trials of life to perfect us through the process of sanctification. And so we can count every trial joy. There's no reason for us to be anxious. There's no real reason for believers to be depressed. If your preferred candidate loses the election, well, then you can still believe that God is able to work all things together for our good. If we're forced to suffer 4 years of a leader that we despise, God is able to work all things together for our good. If our financial situation continues to deteriorate as our nation continues to lock down, God is able to work all things together for our good. If we even end up getting infected with COVID-19 and if we discover that we're dying from coronavirus complications, God is still able to work all things together for our good. Whatever the trial, no matter the trouble, God is able to work all things together for our good. And with that being the case, I encourage you, shift your focus. Shift your focus from the fear of the trials that we find ourselves in and focus in on a faith that is based on the belief that God is in fact able to work all things together for our good. With this as the focus, I invite you to join us here at Calvary South Austin for our weekly services. If you'd like to know more about our service times and the measures that we're taking to sanitize our facilities, well, you can find all this information right here at calvarysouthaustin.com. I hope to see you soon, but until I do, let's continue to fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.